Boom. Y'all give it up for Blaze. Blaze is so talented. Looking at you, Blaze. Well, how we doing, everybody? All right, so we are continuing our little teaching lesson on our service standards. And, man, I'm loving the that feedback and the sound of my own voice. It's fantastic. Everybody's like, we knew it. Okay, so today the service standard that we're going to walk through is one that I've heard done a lot during, it's one of those just keeps kind of popping up during our morning meetings. It is be sensitive and adjust to the unique needs of our team members and patients. And I want to take that idea, kind of break it down a little bit into a leadership principle, which we've talked about in the past, which is really functional trust. What that looks like is really understanding kind of what that service standard is. And I think a lot of times when we hear be sensitive and adjust to patients and team members' unique needs, we think to ourselves, okay, how can I be present in the moment? How can I meet somebody where they are? Or how can I have a conversation where I feel like they can be heard or seen? And that's true, and it's absolutely important. But I want you to think of three important things when it comes to being sensitive and adjusting, and also on the other side of that, earning trust. The first one is seeing the person behind the task, making sure that whatever you're talking about, it's not just a deliverable. There's a human being that's responsible for doing that. The second thing is adjusting how you deliver feedback, the tone of your voice, your body language, your emotions. And the last is creating safety for truth to be spoken. And I want to talk about that word safety for a second. Safety, especially psychological safety, write this down, it's important, is not the avoidance of discomfort. Safety is not the avoidance of discomfort. It is the security, it is having security even in the setbacks. So safety is not the avoidance of discomfort, it is security even during the setbacks. So why does sensitivity come first? Well, I think a lot of this comes from our past, especially childhood. So as most of you know very well, I've got a 3-year-old. Her name is Maymay. And she rules the roost at home, as I'm sure some of you probably have little kids too. Speaking of which, I got home from the gym this morning, walked into my bathroom, super tired, took my gym bag off, took my outfit off, opened my bathroom door to go to the bathroom. There's my 3-year-old, matted hair, looking up at me in her nightgown, going to the bathroom. And I said, "Sis, what are you doing?" She looks at me dead in the face and she goes, "I'm taking a dump, Dad." Close the door. It's not very sensitive, May. Okay? But I think about her, and I think about how we interact with little kids, especially throughout their childhood. And we're very sensitive and we adjust to their needs when it comes to like deliverables all the time, right? And so a lot of, that, for example, we're playing a game with Maymay. We're playing Uno. So if you're playing Uno with Maymay, this is how the game works. We play until Maymay wins, right? She's going to keep drawing cards until she gets a wild draw 4, and then she's going to play it. And she's going to say something like, "That's not sus. It's fine. This is how we play the game, Dad." Right? And everybody's like, "Come on, just let her win. Just let her win. Just let her win," right? We're not going to hold a 3-year-old accountable. And that's a wonderful way to play a game with a 3-year-old. Not a great way to play the game of life, right? And I want you to think of that, see this picture, because I think a lot of times when it comes to this phrase of let's be sensitive and adjust to team members and patients' unique needs, we find ourselves balancing this framework in our minds, this balance between what we perceive as clarity and kindness, right? It's like, well, I can be really clear, but it's not going to be very kind. Or I can be really, really kind and not very clear. And I want to propose to you today that these are two different scales, that they are mutually exclusive events, that you can be kind and very, very unclear. And you can be clear and also very, very unkind, right? Not often do we have to choose one or the other. And oftentimes when we don't, or we avoid the reality that is being honest or authentic, we end up robbing someone and being unkind. So it looks like this specifically. Sensitivity is really adaptation with intention, using emotional intelligence, and connecting without compromise. Here's what it's not. This is really important. Sensitivity is not agreeableness. It's not avoiding hard truth. And it's not lowering standards. And that can be really difficult to comprehend, especially in like our current cultural climate, right? Because a lot of times we'll find ourselves in a situation where we feel like we should be sensitive and adjust to somebody's unique needs. And we'll say to ourselves, well, the adjustment I need to make is the standard. The adjustment I need to make is what I expect. The adjustment I need to make is what the person needs to do. And that's oftentimes not the adjustment that needs to be made. The adjustment that needs to be made is sensitivity, not what we expect. So we're not being more agreeable, we're not avoiding hard truths, and we're not lowering standards. So once we understand that, how do we earn trust? I love the idea, one of Amazon's 14 leadership principles is this idea of earning trust. So this is a quote from their leadership principles, and I really, really like it. It says, leaders listen attentively, they speak candidly, and they treat others with dignity. They are vocally self-critical, even when doing so is uncomfortable. So to earn trust, one of the first things that we do as a team member is we're willing to put our own performance on the line. Say, hey, like this is not the best. I'll be totally honest. Here's a little vulnerability with you. So whenever I want to get better at something, I try to find somebody who's better than me at that thing. Right now that looks like some professional coaching. And in order to be coached well, you have to take an assessment about your behaviors and strengths and weaknesses and yada, yada, yada. And then eventually all the people that know you really well take those assessments too. They turn them in to an overall assessment. And then you sit down with all of your data exposed, right? And if you want to get better, you have to sit there and listen to this person tell you, hey, not so great here. Hey, this person said this about you. Hey, this person said that this is really not that great. Hey, this person said this is not that great. The majority of the people close to you say that you are this, right? Those things, naturally, when I hear them, I want to argue against them and say, that is not right, clearly wrong. But if I don't embrace it, if we don't say, you know what, I'll be vocally self-critical because I'm not going to get anything out of that communication, right? The same is true with the coach. If they're not willing to be, hey, listen, this may hurt a little bit when you hear it. This may sting a little when I say it out loud, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear because I know you really do want to get better, right? That now I have a trustful relationship with that person. Now I'm like, yes, okay, thank you for being willing to go right through the discomfort and know that we'll both be on the other side of this to say, hey, I'm going to take you to where you need to go because it has nothing to do with this moment or this. Like if you, one of my weaknesses big time is organization. So if somebody says to me, hey, you're really not organized, I can stop in that moment and feel offended and break down. Or I can say, hey, like, you know what? Thank you for saying that. Let's work on this and get on the other side of it. That's how I earn trust with that person. So you want to, when you do this, you really want to meet people where they are. And what that looks like is 4 specific deliverables. The first one is delivering hard truth. And what that looks like is telling people what they need to hear in the moment, right? Now, how I say that can be sensitive, but what the substance of what I'm saying is clarity. Number 2, setting clear expectations. Remembering clarity is kindness. Number 3, maintaining high standards. And high standards is oftentimes what we want to adjust in these sensitive situations. And I can promise you from experience, the thing that we often want to do when somebody's having a tough time or when a patient's, not in a good place or a patient doesn't, we just want to take them a little bit of the way, not all the way, but we know what they need. It can be really easy for us to say, well, I'm going to adjust the standard a little bit because it'll be easier for you to hear. Or I'm going to adjust the standard a little bit because that'll make this easier to take. Oftentimes, the greatest gift you can give somebody in a difficult season is really clear consistency. Because when everything's falling apart around them, when everything's kind of coming around in life, you being like, hey, this is what I expect, this is what you need, this is the procedure that you need, this is the deliverable you need to hit, can be one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody. So what does this look like, real world? For patients, It's adjusting the tonality of our communication to meet their emotional needs, to try to understand what their primary pain points are when they come and see us, to say, okay, maybe you have sinus infections, but what is it that you can't do? What is it that you can't participate in? What is it that you can't be a part of? Meeting them intellectually and psychologically in that need, and then making sure that we see that. And then number 2, having the confidence to recommend what we know will help them. Those 2 things, we're not holding back honesty. We're not holding back the integrity of what we know is best for them. But sometimes it's hard to hear that if they're an obstinate patient, or if they're a patient that's like, I don't listen to doctors, I don't go to, well, this is what you need, and if you don't want to do that, I'll be ready when you are. The same is true for team members, right? We can tailor, not change our feedback. We can be honest, not harsh, and we can model what we expect. So here's your graphic for this week. 3 things to earn trust, I think. So when you want to earn trust, you want to be sensitive and to adjust to team members' unique needs. This is what I want you to think of. I want you to listen attentively. Speak candidly, but treat others with respect. But most importantly, honestly, be self-critical. Be willing to say, you know what? I missed it. Or not the best. So when this is actually your, sorry, Hannah, I'm in your way, I apologize. When this is that morning thought, and it says be sensitive and adjust to team members' and patients' unique needs, think about trying to earn trust in that way. But when we're sensitive and they have unique needs, we're not adjusting the things that we know are right. We're not adjusting, hey, this is what you need. We're not adjusting the standard. We're adjusting how we deliver that information. And we're also willing to be vulnerable and talk about, hey, like, here's where I struggle too. Sound reasonable? All right. Have great breakouts, guys.